What's up? Welcome to the Existential Stoic podcast. You ever struggle in life? You ever feel just tired, worn out? It's just too gosh darn hard. Well, you're lucky. Today we're going to talk about when life is challenging. I'm Danny from my buddy Randy. What's up, Randy?
Yo, Danny, what's going on?
Not much. Life ever feel challenging?
Dude, today was a rough day. Today was a rough day for me. And then you were saying you had a challenging week. Sometimes it's just,
Yeah.
you know, as good as you get in life. Like, I mean, if you listen to any of our episodes, you knew we have all the answers. And
Oh.
st and still, and still, life is a challenge. Like, there were moments today where I just didn't think I was going to get through the day. I was just like, this is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a rough couple weeks for various reasons. And it's funny too. It's like I know I have all the answers, but they're just always out of my grasp when I need them. Sometimes it feels like, like they're just like, yeah, over there. Like I think a lot of it too is you have to consciously you have to be I've been getting better at this, but you have to really catch yourself. You have to be like consciously aware and self-aware. And that I think is the hardest thing because I think our for many of us are, especially I guess, I don't know, especially in like the West, I guess, the default is to not be self-aware. It's actually to reject self-awareness so that, your default is to run from things, distract yourself, seek out comfort, pleasure, whatever.
Blame it on
And
other people.
yeah, blame those other people and circumstances, damn it, not yourself. And it's hard, it is hard. And I think the more you do focus on catching yourself, it does make it easier to resolve issues, but it's difficult. It takes a lot of time and effort.
hmm Yeah, there was. I mean, it definitely does seem like it would be a lot easier to just blame it on external circumstances.
No, hell yeah, dude, it's way easier. Well, it's
Uh-huh.
also Nietzsche said he's like it's way easier to live as a what he called a bound sphere, right? To just conform, blame everything on everybody else, adopt a but you lose yourself. That's the gamble, right? And you're probably
hmm
gonna you're gonna have moments where you come to and you're like, I don't want to live like this. It sucks. And then you
Yeah.
risk being really depressed and stuff.
But there, I remember we were talking once about how the beginner blames others, the intermediate blames himself, and then the master blames neither others nor himself.
Yeah. Which seems accurate and correct, right?
hmm
It's probably nobody's fault.
hmm Yeah. So like today I just had a really frustrating day because it's just like I got to this point where I okay, I've gotten to this point many times recently where it's just like there's not enough time in the day. There's not enough time in my life to do everything that I want to do. I feel like I should be achieving stuff faster. Like how come I can't download stuff like in the Matrix? And
I know, dude, oh my God, right? I used to I used to always imagine when I was younger if I had a superpower, just being able to touch like a book or something, because computers didn't exist at the time. Touch a
Mhm,
book and get all the information, right? Instantly. And I'd be like,
mhm,
wow, that'd be so neat. Or download, like the Matrix is a good example. It's like being able to download it'd be so awesome because you cut out all the BS of having
mhm.
to learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And it's like
fast.
I literally like I get on my own case. I've literally crafted pretty much the ideal life that I would want for myself. And just because I can't have more of it faster, I'm like a fucking crack addict. Like,
I know.
just give me more faster now. I need it. And it's just like and so I just cause myself to have a terrible day because I can't do it all at once. And then here's the fun part of it. So like I was stressed as can be, and like some days during the week are pretty busy for me. So I had a whole bunch of stuff that I was trying to do, and I was hurrying to get to the gym so I could go swimming. So I could, and so like one of the things I like to do when I'm swimming is just sprint as fast as I can because it wears me out and it like helps
Yeah.
get out of a lot of like anger or energy or whatever it is. And so I did that and I was feeling better. And then I came back to my apartment and they're doing construction on the apartment and it's like so freaking loud and I just like I lost it and I was literally like yelling at this and then I caught myself and I'm like, what am I doing?
It's funny though, because I've had it happen numerous times where it's like a twig snaps and that's it. That's you just lose your shit, right? And it's funny because it's funny because we try to be so calm and in control all the time. And it's like I think and I notice it happens most when I'm pushing myself to the limit because you just don't have any more energy. And that's really what it is. Like normally under normal circumstances, you'd be like, oh, okay, they're doing construction, whatever. I can go out. There's lots of things I can do to change this. That whatever. But it's like when you lose that energy, you don't have it. It's like everything just falls apart. You start yelling. I've had it happen to me so many times, dude. It's always when I'm tired. It's always when I'm overworked, and it's hilarious because it's like ridiculous.
Yeah, and I called myself like as I started to yell, and I'm like, I see myself in that moment. I'm like, am I the dude who's yelling at people for doing construction? Like during the daytime, during hours when you typically do construction. Am
Yeah,
I
if it
the
was 3 in the morning, it'd be one thing. Then you
yeah,
could give a right to yell.
yeah. Oh my gosh. And it was just like at that point, I at that because I'm reading this book on self-compassion. And so it's actually quite a helpful book. So like this it talks about self-esteem and how that was a totally failed experiment. Like not only did it do the things that we thought it was going to do, but it actually created a whole society of narcissists. But
Makes sense though. I mean, it's like,
yeah.
yeah,
But like self-compassion on the other hand is pretty interesting because you basically just like you bring some mindfulness to the moment. So like you recognize whatever's going on. Like this is a moment of suffering. And then you recognize that this is something that happens for everybody. So like in life there's suffering. Everybody suffers sometimes. And then you just have a little bit of compassion for yourself and you're like, maybe I can just be a little bit more compassionate with myself at this moment. And so like after I lost it. So like after I'm off the
nice.
deep end, literally yelling at my ceiling. And uh I just was like, okay, I'm I'm suffering today.
I'm stressed.
Yeah. In the world, a lot of people suffer. What's the most compassionate thing I can do for myself? And literally, like once I asked that, I was like, what's the most compassionate thing I can do for myself today? I was like, I could just slow down. Like that, I had been rushing and rushing all over the place, rushing, trying to get all the stuff done that I needed done. And like the most compassionate thing is I could just slow down. And I slowed down and I just picked up a book and I started reading. And I was like, ah, that feels better.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I did the same thing. I picked up a book the other day too because I was struggling. I've been like a low grade depression for the last like couple of weeks, which has been annoying. But I do notice, like, I notice like I feel best in the morning because I'm awake, but it's like the more tired I get, the worse it gets. And it's funny because I caught myself the other day. I was sitting upstairs and I was just like, oh my God, like so getting so down on myself. And then I was like, okay, obviously I just don't feel good. I just need to do something else. So I was like, I'll just get a book and relax for a little bit. So I just got a book and I relaxed for a little bit. That helped. And like, but it's like it requires this like constant attentiveness to what's going on because it's so much easier to lose it and let yourself get lost than it is to like rein things in. Like Stoics always talked about like what's in the realm of our control. And I think it is easy. It's like so many philosophers talk about this too, because like it's easy to let our emotions just go. It in a way it feels cathartic. I don't think it's helpful though, but it does feel that way. And like a lot of times, I think the problem is like we think just expressing them is healthy, but it's not always a healthy expression. Like like yelling at your ceiling, yelling at yourself, that's not healthy, expression of it, right? You're not dealing with it in a good way. And so it's like realizing that is like necessary in order to move forward with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, especially having compassion with yourself if you do have depression, because that's something that unless you've actually experienced depression, you have no idea what it's like. It's just
Yeah,
like
it's
this
annoying.
feeling, it's this feeling that has never existed for you. And it's crazy
Yeah,
because you're like, how could they possibly just get up and go do something? And it's like
yeah,
they're experiencing something that has never existed in your entire psyche. And it's just like, okay, a little bit of
yeah.
compassion. Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird. It's really weird too, because I catch myself because it's like it's really weird how it works because it makes it very hard to do things. It makes it hard for me to concentrate, and it's like it's strange because like harder you think it's like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way, but it's like you do. So
Hmm.
it's like you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's been. I think like I noticed like having routines has been helpful. That's always I've noticed that's like when I compare it to past experiences of the same thing, like it's been way more helpful having that. Those do seem to help. So
Hmm.
I think whenever you're facing challenges, that's good is to have some sort of routines you can fall back on because they give you that control.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just it's also it's like having that awareness that's so hard. I feel like I'm getting better at it, but it's like something that you just gotta keep working at.
Yeah.
There's the other bitch of it too. It's like you think. you face all these challenges again and again, over and over, and you think they'll get easier, and they do sort of be like in my head, I keep thinking eventually I won't face these.
Hmm.
But
That's
that's
the
wrong.
Yeah, that's the
That's a
fallacy.
wrong view.
Eventually, I'll be more skillful at facing these. That's
Yeah, that's what it is, right? It's not like I'll never be over it. Just one day I won't face it. I mean, I won't. I'll be better at facing it, rather. Yeah. See, I still think that way. It's impossible to turn it off.
yeah. There's a dude who's having problems in his marriage, and he was he was talking to me about it, and I was like, number one, I'm a terrible person to talk to about this because I have zero real world experience. And he's like, yeah, I was talking to my other friend who's married, and he just pissed me off, so I needed someone else to talk to. He was like, he said to me, you believe this? He's like, you can either have problems and be married, or you can have problems and not be married. It's up to you. And it's just like,
That's
and
pretty accurate.
I was like, yeah, well, he makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, yeah, it just does because you're gonna have problems no matter what. And the crazy thing is, like, the solutions to our problems just end up being problems later on down the line. So
Yeah. We know
it's
I
you
think
you
like
get to choose whether you want a partner or not while you have these problems.
well, I think too, like like you're saying, too, like self-compassion, I think is really necessary though too to even be able to deal with another person. Because if you're not compassionate with yourself, you're not going to be with them, and you're not also going to have like that ability to like rise above your moment too, and see the situation from a different perspective. Because that's helped
Mhm.
me a lot. Like I noticed, like like even saying sorry to your partner when you're not feeling like I apologize. I knew I was, but I said that to her, and she knew. And it wasn't a big surprise. This happens to me, so it's not like it's not like unheard of. Not that I did anything bad, but it's like I know I'm not fun to be around. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
like like a wet blanket, I guess. So it's
Yeah.
like but like so I apologize, but I think that's good because it helps you see it from an outsider's perspective too, rather
Mhm.
than being so. Because I tend to be so internally focused that I have a hard time seeing anything beyond myself a lot of times.
Yeah, you're totally alone on that one. Everybody else is a totally awesome perspective in life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. It's crazy because our mind just sometimes it's like our design doesn't seem to be great. Other times it's pretty
Sometimes,
yeah. Other times pretty
like
decent design.
I would say like 70% of the time, it seems
Mhm.
pretty faulty.
Yeah.
But
But you,
wouldn't that be evolution? I mean, it's evolution, right? It's like a shot in the dark and it's a random building over time. So maybe that's it.
hmm
Yeah.
Well, according to ancient apocalypse, we're all descended from these giant people or something from
It's good though, isn't it?
They're
Oh,
pretty
it's fun.
yeah, it's been fun to watch. I just put it on in the background while I've been painting. Yeah.
Nice.
hmm
Nice.
Yeah. So what was the actual topic that we were talking about today?
Dealing with life's challenge when life is challenging, I
Oh,
think. I
right.
don't know.
Yeah.
Which we've been talking about challenges a lot.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, you hit the nail on the head with the fallacy that we think that eventually we're going to get to this spot where there's not going to be challenges. It's going to be happily ever after. And that's like the biggest kick in the nuts ever because as soon as you believe that, you're like in for some massive pain in life.
Well, I think this is like our number one problem though, is that we think there's a spot in the future or at some place where we won't have any of these pains, these sufferings, everything will be great. It's that lie of happiness we all tell ourselves, or that lie of the good life we all tell ourselves. And it's unrealistic as hell because there's always going to be problems, there's always going to be suffering, there's always stuff. So, like, given that, how do you define a good life? And I think most of us have this flawed conception. And the more I think about it, the more I realize it is totally flawed. Maybe even happiness isn't even the right way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Aristotle, like the Greeks call it eudaimonia, a flourishing life. Maybe that's better, right? Maybe it's like flourishing, like doing well, succeeding, you're still struggling, right? Like, I don't know. What are we looking for?
Not the floor. That was actually, I think that could have been the cause of like my miserable day today. Because
Was it?
so you know how we were talking about in the quick episode how writing it down and like write down your cares and you'll be free. So I've been writing down like some stuff that's just been bothering me because eventually you work through it by doing that. And so one of the most not impactful, but like one of the most definitive moments in my life was in second grade. I came in second place in the spelling bee. And it's just like,
First loser.
I know exactly. Yes. And so it's like messed me up for, however many years,
I'm sorry you
30,
still
30
carry
plus
that
years.
though.
Yeah.
I
But no,
apologize.
that's how I've been beating myself up. First loser for this her. And plus I feel like life ripped me off. Like I got cheated because my word was magical. No, excuse me. My word was flourish, like you just said. And his word was
Uh,
magical. Magical's a piece of cake. There's no hidden vowels,
Silent
nothing,
anything. Yeah,
nothing with that. But flourish, when you're in second grade,
that's
you
rough.
don't,
Yeah.
dude, you don't have hidden freaking OU. And so, anyways, or you, I don't know, OU,
I
whatever.
feel for you. I never would have won a spelling contest. That was crappy at spelling.
Dude, and so like I was writing about that this morning, and it must have brought up some emotion. And clearly the whole day I was just kicking someone else's dog until eventually I'm screaming at the ceiling. Meanwhile, I could have
Fucking
saved my
magical.
I could have saved myself and a lot of other people some difficulty if I just would have like had a bit of
What
compassion
did
for
you win
myself
if you
earlier
won the
on.
spelling bee?
Probably a trophy and a year and lifetime's worth of bragging rights. I wonder. I should go hunt down that kid and see if he even remembers that.
Can he spell flourish?
I know, right? Yeah. Like, wouldn't that be funny if that was like, if he became very, very successful and it was all because he knew, but more likely he's probably just like, I don't know.
Everybody else?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Has other
yeah.
problems. Yeah.
We all have problems. Yeah, this is the problem, right? Problems are problems. We all have problems. And even these people that people idolize that they think have no problems, all these famous people, these wealthy, they all have problems. A
Hmm.
lot of them are miserable too. It's like, and we talked about this before, but like the only ones that seem to have it is like the people that are like secluded in mountains, the monks and stuff. The only ones that seem to know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Maybe.
even then, I'm not sure. Hey, it's tough. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah, from what I've heard from monks, they still deal with all this stuff. They're just better at dealing with it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I said, I think we spend our whole lives not dealing with it. Like,
Hmm.
I'm literally being taught not to deal with it, to keep pushing beyond it, to keep looking for something else, to keep, not ever dealing with problems, but just going on the next thing. Not dealing with failures, not dealing with grief, not dealing with anything, and just distracting ourselves, looking at our phones, not talking about things, not voicing what's bothering us. And it's like or staying in our heads.
Yeah, I heard from some dude who went and did like I don't know, one of these long 10-day or 2-week retreats at an actual monastery with a bunch of monks who had been there for a long time. And
Oh,
he was
not the new
talking,
guys.
yeah, exactly. And he was talking about how he had a one-on-one with the senior monk there, and he was expecting like the monk to like drop this knowledge bomb on him and just be like,
Yeah.
uh and
Now you're
and
enlightened.
yeah, and he was like, he basically asked the monk something along the lines of like, how come I have all these problems that are racking my brain all the time, and you're so peaceful? And the monk's like, I have that stuff all day too. I just sit with it,
Yeah.
and like that's it.
Yeah.
That you
Yeah.
just yeah, you just sit with it.
It's the truth though, right? You just let it go too, and you don't attach to it. And like we make these things so much worse than they are. And we
Hmm.
know we do it. We all know we do it, I think. I think most people know they do it,
Hmm.
you know? But I think that's the thing. Like if you're self-aware enough, you can catch yourself and you don't slide down that dangerous path of losing yourself to all these things and letting that dictate everything.
Yeah. I mean, I do actually think there is something to this writing. So it was, I forget the name of the book, whatever. But
Well,
basically
right now
in
you're, oh yeah, totally. That makes, yeah,
so
makes
like
a lot of
writing down
sense.
your problems, writing through your problems. So basically the study that was talked about in this book by some guy's name that begins with the letter P. And
We're getting
uh
closer.
I know, right? We're really getting there. So basically he had a whole bunch of guys who had been laid off, and half of them he had write about their problems, and the other half he had just write about anything. And the ones who wrote about their problems, when he went back, I think like 6 months or a year or some later, they were 3 times more likely to be employed. just by writing, they were laid off from like their long careers, and they were more likely to get another job
Think
just from
about
writing about their problems.
think about it logically though, right? I mean, I've done that practice too of writing down my problems or writing out things that are bothering me. It's like one, it puts it in the world. It gets it off your out of your head. Two, it forces you to start thinking about it as something you're responsible for and therefore have power to change. It also gets you thinking about, well, then what can I do? Because it makes it not just this thing that's like nagging you, it makes it now some of obstacle to overcome, right? Like, okay, instead of saying like, oh, I'm employed, why? Well, because they fired me, this happened, and blaming everybody, you say, okay, so I need that. This is just something I got to overcome, right? It's just another thing I got to like solve. And that's what it becomes. It becomes a problem to solve rather than a thing that's blocking you from doing anything else. And I think that's such a big part of it. Is like we have to get those things out there and we have to voice them. Because like otherwise it just, yeah, eats us
Mm-hmm.
up inside, you know?
Yeah. And plus, like, you get it out there, and like Mr. Rogers used to say, if it's mentionable, it's manageable.
Well,
So
that's a
like,
good one. I like that. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like dealing with our emotions. Like I'm just barely learning how to handle my emotions. 40-year-old just barely learn. But I mean, it's earlier than a lot of people end up learning about
Hey,
it.
at least you're trying to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
Dude, and these
I
emotions
feel
come
like
up like,
I can almost distinguish what they mean now sometimes.
yeah. It's like just trying, I mean, just going through the day and trying to nail down what emotion I'm feeling is a challenge. And
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like basically before I started learning a bit more, I was like either angry, horny, or tired. Like those are my three emotions. And it's like,
I usually feel bad or good.
yeah. Yeah. So like actually like being able to be like, okay, maybe there's more. Maybe there's something behind that. Yeah.
But that's a self-awareness too. I think you have to be aware of it. Writing it down is a great way to do that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Life is challenging.
And the cool thing is that's like something that relates you with everybody on the face of this planet.
It is. It's challenging for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And the cool thing is, I read this and it stuck with me so much, is that there's no hierarchy of suffering. So, like,
Yeah.
for a long, long time, I've suffered and I would beat myself up over losing the spelling bee in second grade. We'll just say, for instance. And it's
For
like,
instance,
for
weird
instance,
example, but hey,
yeah. But like, I'm, I was like, this doesn't qualify as suffering because there are people who are starving and there are people who are in wars and people who have been terrorized and victimized and all these different things. I was like, it doesn't qualify. And it's like, well, in my experience of life, this has caused me quite a bit of suffering. So I might as well start dealing with it
but
and
it
yelling
doesn't
at the
matter,
ceiling.
in some sense, the source, it doesn't matter the source though, because the thing is that the reality is the same for everyone, right? We all do. Because I think that's one of our other big things is thinking that what we're experiencing is so unique. No one else has ever experienced in the world when that's totally flawed. Everybody else is probably going through something similar or has gone through something similar in their lives. Or at least relatable. Maybe not the exact same thing, but relatable, like something
Mm-hmm.
you can understand. Because we all understand suffering. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I might not have ever entered a spelling bee, but I can think of times where, I lost something I felt like I shouldn't have lost or whatever, and it's hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The challenges in life. Oh,
I
here's
don't know.
another
Give any
thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is like just sitting with it, not trying to fix it. So,
Yeah.
like, I mean, just because today the recency bias, I can't remember any other challenges I've had other than today, because today was like a pretty stressful day. Actually, I remember some other ones now, but anyways, today there was a part where I was just like asking the universe to help me, and I just kind of put it in the universe's hands because I was like, this is your mess to
Yeah.
clean up. I was like, you deal with
You're
this.
causing all of this.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it's
no.
something where eventually it did work. Because who's to say whether it was something that I did that worked it out, whether it was actually just something that worked out on its own, but just giving it
Well, that's
time.
time is also, it does heal a lot of wounds. And I think, the other side of that too is that like sometimes we focus on it in the wrong way where we just magnify it. I think more often than not, that's all we do. We make it worse, we imagine it worse, we make it insurmountable. Sometimes you just have to let it go because then you can actually handle it. Then
Hmm.
you make it small enough to deal with, rather than like fixating on it. Sometimes it just takes time, like you said. Sometimes you just have to turn your back on it for a while, and you deal with it later. It's okay.
Hmm. Yeah, but don't go thinking you got it all figured out and you're not going to have any more problems because that, ugh,
You
yeah,
always have problems. None of us are perfect.
yeah, yeah,
But you keep trying and it gets better and it gets easier. That's the fact.
yeah. And then you die and everybody forgets about everything about you and all your problems are just gone.
Woo! Gone. There's
Yeah.
somebody else's.
Oh, that's a good point. Uh, there was, oh man, I wish I could remember it, but basically, there was something along the lines of somebody was saying how they wanted to have like a problem-free life. They wanted to, not feel anything. And it's like you're basically asking for a dead person. You're asking to be dead. Like that's not a possibility of living.
As long as you experience, as long as you're alive, there's going to be problems, there's going to be suffering, there's going to be pain. And that's part of life, but that's okay. I think that's the other problem. We make it our fixation on a fictional life when we have no problems also makes us so resistant to actually experiencing any pain that we turn away from it. And it's always going to be there. So, it's better to look at a way to strengthen us, something to overcome, something to make us stronger, to realize what we're capable of, all of those things. Flip the perspective on it, the interpretation, it helps a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we all struggle. Life is challenging for everyone. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's the Existential Stoic podcast. Check us out midweek for a quick fix. Listen wherever you get your podcast or watch us on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe. It helps us out a lot. And until then, though, later.
Later, Danny.